ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors, Tuesday, June the 10th. Man, never a dull moment, even as we sit here heading into mid-June with the East Carolina Athletics. The transfer portal giveth, the transfer portal taketh, another entry into the portal for the Pirate baseball team. We'll get into that here in a minute. We're live on YouTube and Facebook, looking to get our X link up as well, although we're having some issues there, so I'll have that up here shortly. If you got a question, a comment, a concern, drop it in the chat, and we'll get to it over the course of the next hour. Should be an interesting show because we'll share the latest on the portal, who's in, who's out. Could we see some commitments in the near future for ECU baseball? We'll address that. We'll also address where some guys have landed. We'll also talk about some big news in the baseball coaching world. Chris Pollard leaving Duke for Virginia. We got to break that down. So a lot to get to. The house settlement, ECU basketball announcing a home and home with Appalachian State that I want to get into, as I think that's another step in the right direction on the scheduling front. All right, Philip Pilkington is back, fresh off I guess vacation is appropriate when you go on the road, although when you're at a wedding, is it really a vacation? I don't know, Philip. How was your time in the great state of Colorado?
Yeah, it's kind of more of a trip, but hey, at least it's something. Yeah. It is a wedding, so at least it's there for fun. It's not like we had to go to a funeral or something. It was great. Weather was good. The only thing that was bad really was when I got back, because we were up till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning their time every day. So I've been up till 3:30, 4 a.m. Eastern, and waking up this morning was a little rough. But other than that, it was great.
Well, glad you're back. Dominic Kasolki did a good job filling in for you, and I'll give him a passing grade. I'll give him a B+. I told him he's doing well. A little bit of an issue on Friday with the mics, but as we discussed pre-show, it was an equipment issue, not a DOM issue. So we only ding him a little bit for that.
I think that's fair enough. I mean, yeah, he could have caught it before, but it's not enough to fail him.
Yeah. All right, so the big news in the portal. Now, I got wind of this last night when we were doing our Bucks on the Pond season finale podcast, which, by the way, you can check out on the Hoist the Colors podcast channels. Scott Lorbatcher, Jonathan Wagner, and I. Bradley Zayak, ECU, right-handed pitcher off the best start of his young career, has entered the portal. And not a huge shock. I was hearing towards the end of the season that this was a possibility, and then I wondered how the performance in the regional may have changed things. And I think, from my understanding, Zayak was hoping for some sort of financial compensation as a result of his start in the regional. And look, I've said this a million times. I'm not going to blame any player for trying to take advantage of the situation, but I also think you got to be a little realistic as well. Zayak, you look at his numbers overall. I would say he had a solid, decent freshman season in totality. He went 1-4 with a 5.40 ERA, a 1.45 WHIP. He threw 36.2 innings, 14 appearances, 9 starts, 41 hits allowed in 36 innings, 26 strikeouts to 12 walks in 36 innings, 273 batting average against. So if you take out the Coastal Carolina start, his numbers, I would say, were decent at best. With the Coastal Carolina start, certainly improved some, but still not a guy who misses a ton of bats. Does keep the walks down, which is a positive for a freshman, but also a guy who gives up some decent contact as well, 273 batting average against. I would say he had 2 to 3 really good performances over the course of the year, obviously one of those being an excellent performance at Coastal Carolina, and certainly an arm you would want to have back. We included him on our draft a week ago. I can't remember what day it was, maybe a week ago today, but an arm you don't want to lose because a guy you could develop. So now you've lost Lance Williams, Brad Pruitt, and Bradley Zayak that I think you would have liked to have back on the pitching staff. You combine that with the loss of Jake Hunter and Ethan Young. Most likely, Ethan Young going to get drafted. Phenomenal stuff. And Hunter obviously moving on to the graduation. That is now 5 pitchers from your core group last year. You're down. You do return Ethan Norby and Sean Jenkins. We'll get more into that here in a minute. But, just more discouraging news from the just – not that, I don't think losing Bradley Zayak alone is going to kill ECU's chances of having success on the mound next season. It's more of like the big picture of college sports. Philip, you see a guy who's had an up-and-down freshman season. He goes out in a huge spot in a regional and pitches the game of his life. And, this should be something that fans talk about all offseason. And, that was the Bradley Zayak game. Right now we're going to see him improve going into his sophomore year, see him grow going into his junior season. But because of how the portal is and NIL and greed and all that, now he's in the portal. And it's really a shame. It makes you appreciate the guys who do stay, like a Braden Burris, Sean Jenkins, etc. But unfortunately, nothing surprises us anymore.
No, it unfortunately doesn't. If I didn't hear the very beginning of what you said, where you mentioned the name of the player, it sounded to me a lot like you were talking about Jake Hunter and just kind of the type of pitcher that he is. Now, I do think 2025 Jake Hunter was much better than 2025 Bradley Zayak, but I think whether it was before the Coastal game or after the Coastal game, we felt as though maybe he could be the next Jake Hunter, a guy who does stay 4 years, and a guy, once again, he's not going to go out there and get you 18 strikeouts. Yes, sometimes he doesn't miss the bat enough and might let up a couple bombs, but when it's a guy who keeps the walks down and seems pretty mature on the mound, that part of it was only going to get better. And no, he wasn't going to come out and be the Friday night starter. And we were talking about before the show, the tough thing with losing these guys, it's not that there's not plenty of guys out there like him. It's that you had one on the roster, and now you got to go find one. He's never going to be Trey Savage. He's never going to be Zach Root. He's never going to be Carson Wisenhunt. But he could have been maybe a little bit better version of a Jake Hunter. And, most of your innings pitched in a college baseball season are pitched by really good college baseball players that maybe don't have a future as a Major League Baseball starter. You've got to have 6 to 7 guys like that in your rotation that are just damn good college baseball players, and I think that's what Bradley Zayak has the opportunity to be. And, the tough thing about the portal is you might not go somewhere better. You guys already talked about it, I'm sure, on Friday, so I'm not going to go long on it, but the Lance Williams situation, would you rather pitch at East Carolina or Maryland? I mean, come on. I don't even know the last time Maryland was in a regional. It was probably when we beat them a few years ago. Maybe they've been back since. They sure as hell hadn't hosted one anytime recently.
Well, they didn't even make the Big Ten tournament this year. So
Exactly.
Look, I do wonder what some of these guys are thinking, I think the biggest issue with all this is the advisors and the agents involved. They're trying to make the money off these kids, and they're feeding them BS, and they just – I just don't know if them or the people around them know who to listen to. And look, everybody has their own reasons. I can't get inside Bradley Zayak or Lance Williams or Brad Pruitt's head, but you just wonder, especially for Williams and Zayak, why not just come back and develop your sophomore year, see where that leads you, and then if you have a great year and you want to go get paid, go do it. Go into your junior year. I mean, that would be the time to do it, like Zach Root did. And look, I think the Root departure was obviously messy too, but at least he had a solid freshman year, made a huge jump his sophomore year, even while dealing with the injury, which I think led to the departure as well in some regards. And then went and got paid, and now he's on his way to Omaha. I hate to say that's the model to do it, Philip, but it feels premature for Lance Williams and Bradley Zayak to be trying to cash in now. Or, I heard Williams is more of he wants to start. Well, hey man, if you pitched like you did against Florida, you would have started next year. Zayak would have had a shot to start. I guess these guys just don't care as much about the team as players used to. Otherwise, I just don't know why you'd leave after your freshman year where you showed promise. Clearly, ECU has a track record of developing pitching into draft picks. You've got a storied program here. Braden Burris said it yesterday. I'm playing for the best fans in the country. And yes, he grew up an ECU fan, so it's a little different. Whereas Williams and Zayak are both Virginia guys, so maybe it's not as important to them, the team aspect. But I don't know. It is just frustrating as a fan of the game that, and if you're ECU, you're trying to give these guys opportunities. Zayak opened the year in the rotation. He finished the year as a starter in your regional. Williams, by all accounts, as a freshman, got plenty of opportunities. Like, I just don't know what more ECU could have done here besides pay him too much money than they're probably worth.
You say like Williams wanted to leave so that he could start. Is that part of his deal at Maryland? Did they chisel it into stone the way that God chiseled the Ten Commandments into stone before he gave them to Moses? I mean, like, what if he doesn't start? I mean, like, is anybody guaranteed to start? There's nobody plays a college baseball game for another 8 months, other than the 8 teams that are still playing right now. But the portal is not doesn't affect what's going on this weekend. It affects what's going on 8 months from Monday, so or next Sunday. So what are we talking about here? And I'm not directing this at you, Igo. No, you're right. This is what you're hearing, but the stupidity of the situation and the mindset with this, like you said, like the Root thing, man. Root was, he was okay his freshman year. He got better, right? Kind of like these guys. And then, like you said, he came in, he was a Saturday guy. And what you could have counted, 20, 25 programs in the country his sophomore year that he would have been a Saturday guy, because everywhere but those 20 or 25, he was going to be a Friday guy. I mean, Skeens would have started over him. Obviously, Trey did. You can get on the list. Burns. But that's, like you said, and that's the model to do it, right? Like, wait till you can go get paid. Wait till you can go be the Friday starter at Arkansas and pitch at a super regional and get to yell explicit language at guys as you're coming off the mound. If Kaysen sent you the same text he sent me, so yeah, like at least give us 1 year. Dang, come on.
Yeah, it's just frustrating, it does. I got a lot of comments on Twitter that I want to reference, but I thought this one from Wade Perry was the best. And like, I don't take it personally from the players who leave. Like, ultimately it's their decision, and they have the right to leave in this environment if they want to. So, like, they can make their own decisions, and that's up to them. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. We've seen situations it does. So, like, who knows how this is all going to play out? But Wade says, quote, seriously, do not even care about the players who leave anymore. If they don't want to be here or believe they have better opportunities, best of luck to you. Not everyone can be a Pirate. It does make me appreciate the players who choose to stay even more, though. Go Pirates. So I think this has got to be the mindset going forward. Like, you just embrace the players who are on your team for that year, and then you love the guys who stay even more. It is hard to get attached to players these days because of these exact circumstances, but it does make it pretty awesome when a guy like Braden Burris comes in the studio and talks about how much he cares about ECU and the purple and gold. Like, doesn't care what position he plays, just wants to see the team win, doesn't care how much money he makes. Certainly he probably wants some NIL money, but he's not going to enter the portal. He's not going to go into Cliff Godwin's office, as far as I know, and demand, hey, I need $100,000 or I'm going to go to the ACC. Like, it does make you appreciate those guys more because they are few and far between. We saw it with Savone Revel in the football front. We saw it with Treyus Savage. Treyus Savage didn't make much at all off NIL. He wasn't even on full scholarship, Phillip, and now he's making millions on his way to AA in professional baseball. So I guess we'll just celebrate and talk about those stories more than we lament the losses, although we have to cover them. But I think Wade's comments there pretty on point.
I think it is. The tough problem about what you just said is if we only celebrate the guys who are staying and don't talk about the guys who are leaving, we're going to run out of stuff to talk about.
That is true.
I mean, I'm sorry, but it is.
Hey, well, our Omaha preview can include look at Colby Thorndike and Zach Root, so we can do that. All right, so some more comments here. From Lane Smith, he says, you would think with the fan base here and the level of support, people would love to come play here. And he also says Maryland is not good. He's making a mistake. Honestly, feel bad for him. Probably got bad advice, talking about Lance Williams. He also wants to know, how is South Florida outdoing us in the portal? I have not seen what South Florida's portal additions are. I have seen a couple of guys, and they look like they're doing well. I'll say, too, they didn't have regionals to worry about. They were a pretty quick exit in the conference tournament, so they probably got a head start on diving deep into recruiting. Also, Mitch Hanna's there, does a heck of a job. He's a long-time head coach, a lot of connections, so not surprised they're doing well. But, look, ECU has a commitment from a reliever that has yet to announce. They also have multiple pitchers visiting this week, so I think you'll see some action here shortly. Terry Long says, do you think it's a position versus pitcher thing? I don't really understand what he's asking there.
He's talking about how we haven't lost any key position players and we've lost a bunch of pitchers, I think.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what would lead to that. Like, the pitching definitely didn't have a great year, but it's not like the position players did either. I guess pitching is more individualized than position players to an extent, but I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Philip?
I think when you're a pitcher, you view it as, hey, program X views baseball as, hey, we can never have enough arms, right? If I'm one of the best arms, I'm going to play. But when you think about a position player, you're really just trying to beat out one guy, right? Maybe outfield's a little different, but you're a third baseman. So let's throw Colby Wallace in there for the sake of the conversation, right? If you're Colby, and maybe Colby wanted to leave, I don't know. And it's like, well, I got to go beat out one guy. And if I don't beat out this one guy, I don't play, but I know I've got a starting spot here. Whereas, like, if you're a pitcher, like, you're probably going to get an opportunity in a game. Just go out there and be successful, and then you get more opportunities, more opportunities. But literally, like, I mean, I'm not going to say only 8 guys play, but like 10 guys play, right? 8 positions. And if you're not a catcher, it's not like they're going to move you to catcher, right? So you are who you are, especially like if you're a left-handed guy, you're not going to get moved to the infield unless it's first base. So I think that's it. But I don't think it's an ECU pitcher position player problem. It's just how the baseball works. It's like quarterback as opposed to wide receiver, you know?
Right. Makes sense. All right, we'll get a break in. We got some more comments we got to address, and we'll look back at last week's draft. We selected 12 players we wanted to see return to ECU. A few of those have left. A lot of those are returning. We'll tell you about that, how that's shaking out, the guys who have announced they are returning, and more. This is Hoist the Colors on Tuesday.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed, meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Are you ready to tackle those yard and garden projects? Come by East Carolina Tractor and Fleet, your local Coyote dealer, and check out their great selection of residential and commercial Coyote tractors. From zero-turn mowers to compact tractors to skid steer loaders, they've got you covered. Some with 0% financing for qualified buyers. Stop by your hometown Coyote dealer, East Carolina Tractor and Fleet, across from the Pitt County Fairgrounds, or online at ectfleet.com. East Carolina Tractor and Fleet. We dig dirt.
Tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
At Parker's Barbecue, our family has been serving your family for 3 generations.
For that, we say thank you.
Blessing families every Thursday. Kids eat free all day. That's the Parker's way.
Legendary food served from our 3 locations. Always quick, always delicious. That's the Parker's way.
At Parker's, our mission is to impact our customers through Christ-like service in a way that feeds them both physically and spiritually. That is the Parker's way.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The Pirates play here.
Time to play the game!
This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Tuesday, June 10th. Never a dull moment. Announced this morning Bradley Zayak entering the portal for ECU baseball after the best start of his young career. And we're talking about that a whole lot more. We've got a lot of comments and questions. Philip Pilkington is back from his latest stop in wedding season, and he's back in the studio. We do have a comment from one Jonathan Wagner. Philip, he's got an interesting question here. He says, will Philip be scared off by the emergence of Dom the past 2 days? Is he going to look for a guaranteed starting job elsewhere? So what are your thoughts on that? Is Philip going to enter the portal?
No, I think here the good thing is it's kind of our setup's kind of like the starting running back position, right? Like, there might be one guy, and, could he evolve over me? Yeah, but I think there's enough work to go around here that we have to have more than one guy. And I think we had a great coaching staff in the Hintons and a great station manager in Dylan McKay. So not looking to enter the portal right now, Wags. This is just how we feel right now. We'll see how things play out throughout the fall. Obviously a slow summer, but it's going to be a good one. And I'm excited to see you this weekend, Wags. Let's go take in a little Nats baseball.
Hashtag with that being said, Philip is going to enter the portal. Just kidding, of course. But if you do enter the portal, I need a hashtag with that being said comment, like every other stock announcement. All right, let's get into some more of these comments. We got a lot of them. We have a interesting comment from Terry Long, who says we actually have 75 more innings coming back on the mound than we did last year. Now, a lot of that is Ethan Norby and Sean Jenkins, which we'll get into here in a minute, but fair point. Last year was even more of an unknown on the pitching front. Jameson on Twitter says Bradley Zayak and Lance Williams were given plenty of chances but never took advantage. How does one good appearance inflate your ego that much where you feel entitled to start? He adds Cliff and Palumbo will find the guys ready and willing to buy into what we're building here. Addison has a question. He says, were any of the pitchers who have left mutual between the team and player, or have they all been for more money? Now, there are a lot of players in the portal where it was mutual / encouraged to leave, so this goes both ways, Addison. Now, I would say Pruitt, Zayak, and Lance Williams are all guys ECU did not want to lose. Again, I think Williams, I don't think it was a money situation. I think he just really felt like he wanted to start, and I guess Maryland was that fit for him, probably also a little bit closer to home. I think Pruitt, I don't know what the exact situation was with Pruitt, but I don't know if it was money. He seemed to want to go back to the Power Four or whatever, and then I think Zayak was mainly a financial deal, but you never get the full details on this thing, but that's just the vibe I get. Johnny Robertson adds, things could be much worse. FAU with a terrible portal situation so far. He says they are losing their ace, Trey Beard. They're losing their closer, MJ Bollinger, who had 11 of their 15 saves. And their leading hitter, Jake Dewar, who batted .428 on the season. So, somebody asked us when this first started, will ECU lose anybody? And I said, they'll lose at least one or two. You just want to limit the damage to that. So let's go over who's coming back, because it's not like the Pirates have been dismantled in the portal. In fact, I would say they've still retained the vast majority of players they want to. So when Philip and I held this draft last week, Lance Williams was already in the portal, so he was not included upon the 12 picks we made. These are the 12 picks we made in the update on their standing. So Braden Burris was our first overall pick. He is returning. Ethan Norby was our second overall pick. He's returning. Colby Wallace, our third overall pick. He's returning. First baseman Austin Irby, our fourth pick. He's returning. Walker Barron, catcher, was our fifth pick. He's returning. Sean Jenkins was our sixth pick. He's returning. Braxton Trammell, our seventh pick. He's returning. Now, Pruitt and Zayak were our eighth and ninth picks. They are gone on the pitching side. Jack Herring, our 10th pick. He's returning. And then we rounded it out with Brett Antolik, the pitcher who missed the season with injury, and Alex Peltier. I have not seen a Peltier announcement. I would assume he's returning, and I've been told Antolik is returning as well. So, like, Philip, it's not as bad as it seems. Everybody wants to jump off the Green Street Bridge every time somebody decent enters the portal. But, like, I would still say overall, and this thing is still open through July 1st. Things can always change. The Pirates still have accomplished most of what they wanted to.
They have. And, you mentioned the FAU situation. You're losing your best bat. You're losing your best pitcher, obviously. East Carolina, guys can still enter until July 1st, but the best bat, Braden Burris, and the best pitcher, and Ethan Norby, have actually publicly announced they're returning. It's not just they haven't entered. They claim they're coming back. I think, really, the reason why people react in the way they are is because they feel like this season, by Pirate standards, was a letdown because of the lack of returned innings from the previous year. And it's appearing that it's the same process. Yes, technically we are returning more than we were last year, but part of that had to be due with the fact that Jake Hunter didn't pitch the entire last month of the season last year. We would have returned more innings. So I think that's kind of why people are feeling this way, because it seems like every blow has been the same blow. It's like, oh, another guy we could have trusted, another guy we could have trusted. So that's the frustrating part. But to your point, Igo, you're 100% right. Like, this team hasn't been gutted. You got your stars coming back. You got your leaders coming back, right? I mean, players have talked about it. Coaches have talked about how 18, maybe he's now 19-year-old Braden Burris kind of became like the guy. Maybe Riley Johnson was number one, but he was like the guy they leaned on. And he hit 400. So, like, you're bringing Braden Burris back. Like, something good is going to happen, because Braden Burris is going to find ways to make other players want to play for this program. So you got him. You got Norby. I mean, yeah, there are teams freaking out a lot more right now. And a lot of those teams are in our conference.
And, let's be real. What is the toughest thing for ECU to go out and get are impact premium players in this market? Like, ECU has some financial backing with NIL and rev share with baseball, but, like, you're not going to be able to go out and get an all-conference middle infielder like Braden Burris or an all-conference pitcher, frontline starter Ethan Norby. Now, you can pay him to stay, and you can, reward Braden Burris to stay, and ECU's been able to do those things. Has it come at a cost financially? Probably. Definitely in the case of Ethan Norby, for what I'm heard, but, like, you were able to retain him, and you don't have to worry about going and finding a Friday night guy. Now, you still have some guys on your staff who can develop into the next Friday night guy. The other difficult thing to find is a now 18-year-old pitcher who's got really first, second round upside, and Sean Jenkins. You retain him as well. He can make a massive leap next year. So, like, you retain your premium guys, I would say, outside of Lance Williams, who has really good upside as well with his raw stuff. And that's the one to me that hurts the most, because it's going to be hard to replace his pure stuff. But he also struggled to throw strikes. So you retain your bat. You had LSU and Arkansas trying to get Austin Irby in the portal. You retain him. You get a lot of key pieces back. Colby Wallace is a team guy, another guy who can make a leap next year. So I just feel like overall, I'm not going to say it's gone as well as it could have, because you would have been able to retain at least a couple of those pitchers who have hit the portal. But I feel like close to best case scenario given the environment, just because you're always going to lose somebody. There's too many people involved with the advisors and the tampering just to keep everybody in place. You can look at every team in ECU situation, heck, even in the SEC, they lose players as well. It's just a tough environment to keep everybody together. I think overall you've got the vast majority of your core, and there's a lot of reason for optimism going into next year. Now, I do say ECU's got to add at least a handful of pitchers from the portal with some proven experience. I don't think, Philip, we're going to see a ton of additions on the position player front necessarily. That said, I think you could see them try to add one or two key guys, whether it be a shortstop, a center fielder, maybe some catching depth. If you could add one position player to guarantee to come in with some experience and push for a starting position at any position on the team, what would be your choice?
Shortstop.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's got to be, right?
Yeah, other than pitchers, who are the guys who were drafted the highest? Shortstops, center fielders. If Braden Burris plays in the center, look, as small as he is, he proved he's got some pop. He's a 4.5 tool center fielder. Could, by next year, another year in the weight room, be a true 5-tool guy. You need a 5-tool shortstop, or at least a 4-tool shortstop. If he doesn't have a great speed, that's okay. But you need a guy who can hit for power, hit for average, field, throw. So, yeah. We can't have 20 errors at shortstop.
Got to figure out the shortstop situation for sure, and we'll see what position Braden plays next year. It could depend on what's available in the portal, who projects the most over the fall as far as getting better, because we know he can play second. We know he can play short in a pinch. Does he get a shot there? Does he play center? A lot of unknowns, but a lot of versatility there with Braden too. So, all right, we'll continue to talk baseball. If you guys have any more baseball comments, drop those. When we come back, we will get into ECU basketball, adding a new home-and-home series that I think is significant. Also, Chris Pollard heading from Duke to another ACC school. We'll have the latest on that. By the way, the Blue Devils really blew their opportunity last night, losing to Murray State, which is off to the College World Series as a Cinderella story. We'll break that down as well. This is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday.
Hey, it's Jim Wells again with Wells Roofing and Gutters here in the beautiful community of Lindale, Bedford. At Wells Roofing and Gutters, we believe in quality first, and that's why we use CertainTeed shingles, which are manufactured in Oxford, North Carolina, a local company. In the event you ever do have a claim or a problem with your roof system, they're local and they come and take care of us in a timely manner. We could leave off some accessories and we could certainly save money, but we believe at Wells Roofing and Gutters in installing the correct way per manufacturer requirements, and we warranty your roof both in-house and also with our supplier, who is CertainTeed. For a job well done, no shortcuts taken, and a good quality job on your home, give us a call today, 252-227-8403. We also offer financing, 12 months, no interest, no payments.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
and gold.
Yo ho ho!
And we're back to Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in Hoist the Colors. On a Tuesday, June 10th, Philip Bilkin back in the 94.3 The Game studios. We got a lot to get to, some more questions from the chat that we'll get to here in a minute. I do want to just bring this up before we dive back into baseball, but ECU basketball has announced a new home-and-home series with Appalachian State. This news coming out after our show yesterday. The Pirates and Mountaineers will take each other on alternating home sites over the next 4 years, starting December 11th, 2025 in Minges Coliseum. Next year in 2026, it'll be at App, 2027 back at ECU, and then 28 at Appalachian State. This continues a recent trend of ECU adding regional opponents. They also have a home-and-home long-standing with UNCW. Pirates will play in Wilmington this year. They're going to play at North Carolina in non-conference action this year. I've also heard talk of a home-and-home with High Point, maybe Richmond as well. We've seen recent home-and-homes with George Mason. So I am a fan of this series, Philip. I think it makes a ton of sense for both schools. I know Greenville and Boone are far away. It's not an easy place to get to, but at the same time, like, who would you rather play? App State, which has a much improving basketball program, or, you know, Norfolk State or some other MEAC or random school that you're paying a bunch of money to come here and potentially beat you? I just feel like these games make so much more sense for East Carolina and Appalachian State than some of the waste of times that we spent covering in the past when they're hosting, you know, Maryland Eastern Shore, which, by the way, will be back on the schedule this year. But you know what I'm trying to say. You can't have all your games be like that.
No, you can't play Gardner-Webb every week, right? It looks so it's part of it is you're not spending a bunch of money, right? Because I'm guessing there's not really a lot of money exchanging.
Should be GA, straight home and home.
Yeah, it's straight home and home. So there's that. It looks better on the resume, right? Like, is App the best team? No, but look, the George Mason game over the last years has carried a lot more weight on a resume than, you know, a game over North Alabama.
Coppin State.
Yeah, Coppin State. So also on top of it, man, it kind of makes it fun, right? Like, okay, say you don't live in Greenville, right? Say you've moved to Raleigh. You're a grad. You don't make it back for every basketball game. Would you rather go to work and talk crap with your coworker that went to App, or play North Alabama, who you didn't even know was a D1 school till they showed up on the schedule? Like, I have plenty of friends that went to App. Like, it's fun. You get to, you know, kind of have a little rivalry there. Like, this is another in-state school. Like, this is good. Like, yeah. I mean, most people that go to Gardner-Webb, you think they care about Gardner-Webb athletics? Like, my sister's best friend went there, and, like, she's like, yeah, I hope they win. But she grew up a Carolina fan. Like, she's a Carolina fan. Like, you don't, like, pledge your loyalty to Gardner-Webb. But people go to App, pledge their loyalty to App, same way the people went to ECU, pledge their loyalty to ECU.
It just makes a lot of sense. And look, I'm a big fan of increasing the basketball difficulty of the non-conference schedule. Last year, it was largely a joke. The ratings show that. This year, it's getting to the point where you're almost wondering, like, where are the wins going to come? And that's a good thing. I think ECU will have a much better resume this year if they're able to put a good product on the floor. You know, the danger of that is you better be pretty good when you're facing Michigan State, North Carolina, St. Bonaventure, UNCW, App State, you know, potentially High Point, Richmond, those type of schools. Like, you better be pretty good or the losses will stack up. So I think it'll make for an intriguing non-conference. We know the American has, while being a solid conference, has taken a downturn in terms of net rating and all that over the years. So hope we continue to see this trend. All right, if anybody has more thoughts on App, let us know, or basketball. We'll circle back to baseball because we're getting a lot of comments and questions there still. A lot of questions about the update of the injured pitchers, Ryan Towers and Brett Antolik. Ben Bradshaw says, is there an update on the pitching injuries? Maybe that played a part in the pitching departures. Ben, good question. I don't think it played a part necessarily. Although if you were to get a Ryan Towers and a Brett Antolik back, both of whom missed the entire season after being projected weekend arms, certainly that could play a role. But pitching injuries are such an unknown. You see it all the time in MLB. Guy coming off arm surgery could be even better than he was, could have more velocity, or he could never be the same. You just really can't count on it. Philip made a great point pre-show. Jake Hunter, I don't think anybody would have counted on Jake Hunter to give ECU the role and the amount of innings he did. That was really the only thing health-wise that worked out for the Pirates this year in a season full of unfortunate health things otherwise. So you just never know. I do know that ECU at this time expects / is hopeful for the return of Towers and Antolik for next year. Both of them had surgery. Antolik's a little different because he had a hip surgery versus an arm surgery. So, his arm is fine. It's getting the rest of his body in line. And then Towers had, some sort of procedure on his arm. Don't know what exactly it was, but the expectation is he will be back for next year as well. So that would add to the upside of your staff, Philip. But the problem is you just can't ever bank on these things with pitching injuries. And I do think that ECU is not banking on them. Do they keep these guys in mind? Yes, but they're going to continue to add to the staff portal-wise in case neither of them make it back.
Yeah, I think you have to, right? Pitcher's already one of the most predominantly injured positions in all of athletics. And they get on top of it, man. If these guys come back, right, like you said, you don't know how well they pitch. They're coming off injuries. And also rust. I mean, neither one of these guys has thrown a tremendous amount of innings since 2024. And it's going to be 2020. Actually, I take it back. Since 2023, neither one of these guys has thrown a tremendous amount of innings. They had jobs last year, but they weren't I take that back. Which Tower or Antolik was at Loyola Marymount legit pitched, right? But Towers was at Towers was, but Antolik was at A&M, and he pitched some, so he hasn't even legit pitched week in and week out since 2023. He could just start rusty. And they both could start rusty. So now obviously at the end of the day, you'd rather them start rusty than finish tired. As long as they're good in May, right? Good in June. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of question marks even if those guys come back. The only question mark that's not around them is their potential, but who knows if their body will allow them to reach their potential. And potential doesn't win baseball games. Potential doesn't record outs. Potential doesn't get you strikeouts. It's just your ceiling, and we just don't know. So I would say prepare like they're not going to be on the roster, but fingers crossed they are, and fingers crossed they can play to their potential because those guys are pretty good baseball players.
I mean, just to show you the volatility of this thing, you could have a situation where Jacob Morrison for Coastal Carolina, he was the Sun Belt Pitcher of the Year, helped lead them to Omaha. Well, last year he missed the entire season with an injury. And what does he do this year? He comes back from injury and pitches to his full capability and has been lights out. So, that's your best case scenario. Your worst case scenario is the guy's just A, ineffective, or B, just never the same. So, you just never know. I think it's seen as we've got a ceiling here, but we also have a low floor. So you just roll forward with that, keep on the roster, see how they develop from an injury standpoint. All right, other questions here in our chat that we'll continue to get to. Ben Bradshaw also asks, is Alex Boucher coming back? 21 errors. I don't know the status of Alex Boucher at this time, Ben. I've heard he's looked at anything from entering the portal to potentially coming back as a depth piece to just quit playing baseball. I have not confirmed any of that. I think he's still making his decision. I'd be fine with Boucher coming back as a depth piece, but I don't know what he wants at this time. I'm sure it was a tough season for him. Look, I talked to Alex one time in studio. Hometown guy, although he grew up originally in Virginia, played high school baseball at South Central. I think there was a lot of pressure on Alex transferring back to ECU, and it was a tough year. And obviously the team had some success after he was taken out of the lineup, so you wonder where his headspace is right now. So I don't know the answer to that right now. Ben Addison Taylor says, what will the outfield look like next year? I think that a lot of it depends on where does Burris play. Now, judging by his comments on the show yesterday, he said he's going to work primarily this summer at second. I would assume that means the Pirates see him as an infielder, but we know he can play outfield. The question for me is who plays center field? Because I think you've got plenty of corner outfielders. We know Peltier can play center. Is he going to have the bat to be an everyday starter? You're getting Braxton Trammell back who can play corner outfield or third base. You're getting Jack Herring back. We know can play corner outfield as well. And you've also got some JUCO guys coming in, especially Jack Vogely, who can play corner outfield and hit for some power. So, we'll see if Davin Whitaker returns. But I think you got plenty of corner guys, Philip. The question is just center field. And I think a lot depends on who you can add, because Burris can play there, Peltier can play there, and it might depend on what are your options to add some impact players.
Hypothetical. Burris, maybe there's hypothetical. No one has the speed and the bat to be your everyday center fielder except for Braden Burris. Trammell's got the bat to be in the lineup, but Colby is an established third baseman. Could you put Trammell at second? I mean, I know it's almost like wasting a guy with a really good arm, but I mean, he's played the infield. Now, there's a difference playing corner infield than interior infield, and I do get that. But do you think that's a possibility? Am I just talking out my rear end right now? I'm just trying to move pieces around to make a lineup work. And Trammell kind of seems like another one of those guys. It's like, hey man, if you put me at catcher, I'll figure it out. I'll play wherever.
I just have not seen enough of Trammell defensively in practice in the infield to know if he could play second. I mean, that, like you mentioned, it is a different beast. You got to cover more ground. You do have a shorter throw. Is he quick enough to play second? What's his transfer like on turning double plays? I don't know. Now, the one thing that, honestly, all bets are off defensively, because ECU has not had a true shortstop in years, it feels like. So, they could put whoever at shortstop, and it would be kind of comparable to the past few ECU defenses. So, I do feel like you could probably get away with it. The other thing is I think Austin Irby would like to play some different positions as well. So, maybe even look at moving Irby to second base and Trammell to first. I don't know. Or, give Colby another look at first, although he was so good at third. It does feel like they've got a lot of corner infielder, outfield types. And maybe you spend this fall just moving guys around, seeing who can play different positions, because that's kind of how I see it on paper right now. Is you got a lot of corner types. Who's going to be up the middle? And that might ultimately decide the ceiling of this team, is how I look at it.
You know what this team kind of reminds me of? You remember a few years ago, did the Phillies win the World Series or did they lose it?
I believe they lost it to the Astros, maybe?
Okay.
Rangers?
Way,
yeah.
I'm always bad at recent history. It's almost
Lane,
like I
let us know.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that Phillies team, right? Where it was we got all these dudes, and we know they can play baseball, and we know they can hit, but we don't have a clue where they're going to play in the field. And that was that whole worry of that Phillies team all year. It's you have 14 DHs on the roster. Who's going to play here? Who's going to play there? And it worked out. And I think, as long as Jeff Palumbo's here coaching the infield, they're going to figure it out. Now, again, when you talk about Trammell, quickness, you can't teach a quick first step, right? And to play interior infield, you have to have that. But as far as the fact that Palumbo so many times has moved dudes around and just gotten the best out of them, Joey Barini, nobody ever thought was going to be an everyday shortstop for East Carolina. And you're right when you said, we haven't had a true, what you think of, star shortstop in a while. But dude, Barini, Cliff always brings up, never received a penny of scholarship money, was just always kind of thought of as a depth piece, just a locker room guy. And all of a sudden, Jeff Palumbo's you know what? Joey Barini's going to play shortstop for the East Carolina Pirates. And, obviously you thought it was going to be Parker Bird. And, Barini goes out there and ends up starting and really playing pretty well, all things considered. So I think if you're going to have problems, these are good problems to have. And, you got the right guys in place as far as, your managerial staff that know how to attack these problems and have a track record of attacking these problems successfully.
By the way, the 22 World Series, it was Astros over Phillies in 6 games. So that was a team that could hit, struggled to play defense for sure. So I get the comp for sure. All right, we will get our final break in. When we come back, we got a few more questions. We may have to table the Chris Pollard discussion until Wednesday. So we'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll answer the final questions we can. This is Hoist the Colors.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your roof is a vital part of protecting your home and family from dangerous storms and hurricanes. At Assist Roofing, we install and maintain metal roofing that provides precise protection. Add value to your home while lowering utility costs with a fortified roof to last a lifetime. With 0% financing, grants, and Energy Star Green Roofing tax credit available. Call us to schedule a free consultation so you can weather any storm with confidence.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
If you are interested in living longer and living stronger, Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine is accepting new patients for a limited time. Finding a caring physician can be a challenge. Dr. Billy Smith is board certified in physical medicine and lifestyle medicine and has been practicing in the area for many years. Call for an appointment now to Eastern Physical and Lifestyle Medicine, 252-364-1108 in Greenville. That number again is 252-364-1108.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
Get ready to board. We're live with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
Welcome back into the show. Final segment here on Hoist the Colors. Philip Pilkington, our producer, back today from wedding season. And we got a few comments. One of these from Cameron, I think, is a great question. And I'll say we'll table this discussion, but I'll read it. He says, with the revenue sharing model, what is stopping these basketball-only schools like VCU and Wichita State from having significantly more money than everyone else since they don't have a football program? We will get, I'll tell you what, Cameron, tune in tomorrow. We'll address the House settlement, some of the things coming out of that, including how maybe those schools have an advantage, although they do make, as Ryan Cole points out, less money from the TV share due to not having football. But that is a factor. Same thing with UNCW in basketball. All right. Another comment here. Johnny Robertson says, Alex Peltier is from my hometown. He played a lot of shortstop in high school. Has he ever worked out at shortstop with the Pirates? Good question, Johnny. I have not seen Peltier. I watched a lot in the fall. It was mainly Burris, Dixon, Boucher, and Neil Griffin at that time at shortstop. Peltier was mainly in the outfield. Now, he does have a strong arm, but he was mainly with the outfield. I never saw him personally work out at shortstop, but maybe he gets a look there as well. It's interesting you bring that up, but have not heard of that to this point. Newton Smith says, how bad has Florida been hit after their coach's behavior during the Conway Regional? Looking at the portal, not very badly. They've lost some arms, but more on the young projectable side, more so than key figures. So, and our final question, we'll make this our final thing we address here. Cameron says, could we see a future without any freshman pitchers on a team? Why would mid-majors risk recruiting freshman pitchers if they won't develop with you? You know, for me, Philip, I just think it almost doesn't matter. You recruit Pruitt out of the portal, you develop him, he leaves. You can't just stop recruiting freshmen, and you can't stop recruiting the portal. I think you just have to recruit the best fits for the year at hand and then worry about the rest later and hope you hit on more Burris and Norby types than guys who are going to leave the program. It's just, I don't think there's one size fits all anymore.
Well, kids graduate. They've got to be replaced, right? Maybe they don't have to be replaced on your team, but there's still X amount of spots in college baseball, and when a kid graduates or gets drafted, he's got to be filled by someone who did not play college baseball last year. So, everybody says portal's killing high school recruiting. No, what killed high school recruiting really was the extra years of eligibility they keep giving kids, because it's not it's not allowing as many spots to open up. No, there's still going to be kids recruited out of high school. Yeah, they maybe not going to be recruited to the big time teams, right? Maybe they're going to have to go D2. Maybe they're going to have to go JUCO. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm with you. Recruit what's best for the upcoming season. Hope guys stay. It is what it is. Recruit next year.
It is a year-to-year business. You can try to project, but that is the land we are living in now. So it just is what it is. I understand the concern, though. We are out of time on this Tuesday. Fun show. A lot of good discussion. We'll continue that on Wednesday. We'll dive into the House settlement. I'll try to do some research on how things are going to be impacted with the roster limits and all that. We'll also catch up with Sean Jenkins, ECU pitcher, who will be returning next year, so tune in for that. We'll see you Wednesday, 12 noon.